But who am I? Is this me? Or is this something that I'm trying to be because this is what the idea of normalcy exists for everybody around me? My name is Dr. Mehrub Awan. I'm a medical professional and a politician from Pakistan. I'm also the Director of Strategy for a community and grassroots-based organization. We go by the name of Gender Interactive Alliance, or GIA. We work quite a lot on working with people that we believe carry influence and power and grassroots communities, and bringing the two together so that a shared consensus over what being a citizen of a developing democracy means like for intersex and transgender persons in Pakistan. I was born with partial androgen insensitivity syndrome, which is one of the many conditions that we now belovedly call intersex conditions. And having to grow up with the abstract and the indirect knowledge that something is wrong with your body, knowledge that hasn't been directly communicated to you, but you've come to surmise and come to put together as a child through disjointed anointers that you've received from teachers and parents, and a doctor that you're taken to who examines you every now and then somehow an adult conversation ensues about whether the child has reached normalcy or whether the child is capable of showing signs of reaching normalcy, and you don't even understand the idea of normalcy. So that's how I remember how things really went about. I believe I'm an intelligent person. I would like to think of that as something that I've pragmatically deduced over the many years. So I think we become curious about our own bodies and we start putting two and two together. I was born in 1991. I'll be turning 34 this year. So growing up in the new millennium, when internet was just about to be accessible, we were just getting digital libraries, we were just getting the world of social media. There's a lot of information that you are getting from other cultures. What are words that are being used by people in other parts of the world? What I think of coming to terms with yourself as an intersex person is a hodgepodge of confusion. So at the age of 20, I landed myself at the doorsteps of a psychiatrist, of my own volition, to really question who I am and what is the nature of my existence. And then we went through a series of endocrinological tests. An endocrinologist was involved, a physician was involved, and I'm a doctor myself. I was in a medical school, so this is special privilege. And that is when I thought that the best decision for me actually right now would be to undergo masculinizing therapy, where I would be administered testosterone injections. And this is somehow going to fix me. Finally, I'm not going to be a freak or an individual who's being bullied in society. And that's how it went about. And 3 years down the lane, I had multiple health issues, a mental health crisis. My labs were off the charts. And me and my physicians basically, and they of course pressed me in a very positive manner to stop it because it was damaging my body. When you've been bullied all your life for not being masculine enough, despite being a male, quote unquote, in a very traditionally patriarchal society that looks at people and people's lives around gender, so you have to be fixed within the binary somehow. So initially it felt like a sigh of relief, because at the age of 21, when I'm finally in co-education in a medical school, and my masculinity and my biology and my sexuality is constantly in question, where the pejorative term for third gender or intersex people or trans people, it's all one word that is used for all three of them conjointly together, is constantly being used for you. You suddenly have a beard. Your voice has cracked. You don't look feminine enough now, and within a span of 6 months, great. You finally have some aspects of facial hair. Great. You're finally not being bullied. So great. And I think once you're past that honeymoon phase, for me, interestingly, that's when reality hits you. But who am I? Is this me? Or is this something that I'm trying to be because this is what the idea of normalcy exists for everybody around me? And I've never challenged this idea of normalcy. I've always only found ways to somehow get it. And now that I'm finally close to somehow getting it, at least optically, at least even if it's an illusion, everything about me is incorrect. Spiritually, biologically, pharmacologically, mentally, I am a wrecked human being, but everybody around me is satisfied. So is this really what normal looks like? Is this really what normal feels like? I would look into a mirror and I wouldn't know who I was. And that's deeply unsettling. It unhinges you psychologically. So it affected me. It affected me medically. My very low cholesterol levels, which are the dangerous ones, were incredibly high, which meant that I was at risk for getting a heart attack in my late 20s and early 30s, which is already scary because my family has a history of cardiovascular diseases. On my mother's side, on my dad's side. So I already have genetic risk. And then I'm compounding it by adding something more to it. And then, of course, there was a lot of changes in how my body looked like over a period of time because it affects your fat deposition and it affects your metabolism. So body dysmorphia, it also contributed a lot to that, which is something that I still mentally carry with myself to this very date. I believe it's incredibly important to share your so-called conversion therapy because it looks like different things. Sometimes it looks like a child being forcibly fixed surgically. Sometimes it looks like an adult like myself who's pushed into it based on deductions that they've made themselves. And it's important because it really shines a spotlight on us. I mean, we falsely claim that there is a unified LGBTQIA plus movement globally when, I mean, even within this alphabet soup, there is the I that is completely ignored, that is the most underfinanced. Those issues are always sidelined. And if they're not being sidelined, they're being used by the religious right wing in countries like Pakistan, pretending that they care about us, but then using us as scapegoats to further their homophobic and their transphobic agendas. So much of our lives resonate with what men go through, what women go through, and then what queer and transgender people also go through. So visibilizing these voices, talking about it, shines light on so many other problems that affect our shared humanity. How the medical system is in a state of evolution, but somehow it still fails people of color and even people of racial majorities if they are underprivileged or if they are from lower income backgrounds. It's like an intersex person sharing their story of conversion therapy, and it might resonate with somebody sitting in Midwest in the US, and they'd be like, well, I was working class, I did not have health insurance, and this very much feels like what I went through when I had an accident or an emergency, where I was just medically ignored and bad options were given to me. Or I made bad choices because the state never invested in giving me enough education about my own body. This is why these stories are important, because it allows us to expand our idea of shared humanity.